close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Vox Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson is being praised for his role in inspiring the next generation of farmers. His documentary shows the ups and downs of British farm life, and now the Royal Agricultural University in Gloucestershire has credited it with a rise in applications. Good stuff, eh? We can now speak with the agriculture student at Gloucestershire's Hartpury University, Joseph Watkins. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. What a scene you've got there. Do you think it's going to inspire another generation? You're a young man yourself. How has it inspired you at all?
For anyone watching, it's just amazing to see, isn't it? All the different steps they take, all the different revenues which they can create on farm. So I think it's really good for the public. And if it does something to help get people into the industry, I think that's an amazing thing. Agriculture has both a lack of skilled talent and just a lack of people in the industry anyway. So if someone wants to go and do a college course or university course to get into the agriculture industry because they watch Jeremy Clarkson, this old pot-bellied Top Gear man, then I think it's great. And I say that with all due respect. I love Top Gear.
Well, we were talking about the ups and downs of farm life. What are the first of all, let's start with the ups. What are the ups?
They're pretty beautiful ladies, you know, surrounded by 600 lovely ladies. That's certainly something. Working outside, you know, you're working with your hands. It's definitely a rewarding experience to be able to go home after a long day and think, right, everything's taken care of. All of these cows are all happy. Some of the downs, it's difficult, isn't it? You've heard this, I'm sure you know. The family farm tax has been in the news lately. But the early mornings, late nights, being away from friends and family, strenuous jobs, and you know, often at times dangerous. So there's ups and downs to it, but as you can see now, I think the positives outweigh the negatives for me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to the Camilla Tominey Show. It's been another dramatic week in Westminster. Sir Keir Starmer's worst week since the week before. On today's show, we're going to be speaking to the Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Peter Kyle. What does he make of Kemi Badenoch's accusation that the Prime Minister lied to the Commons about Peter Mandelson? From the Conservatives, I'm going to be joined by the Shadow Education Secretary, Laura Trott. Does she think Keir Starmer should resign over the scandal? Also on the programme, the esteemed political historian and biographer Sir Anthony Selden, who has written a biography about every PM since Major. Who better to ask about how he rates Sir Keir Starmer's government 1 year in? Will he be doing a biography of Nigel Farage someday soon? Damian Green, the former Cabinet Minister, will be here to discuss his report on one of the most important but least talked about issues of our time, adult social care. How can we fix it? And finally, international journalist and broadcaster Hadley will join me to react to the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk. We're also going to be looking ahead to that unprecedented second visit from the US President Donald Trump to the UK. As ever, we've got 90 minutes of punchy politics to come, so do not even think of going anywhere. Well, as you can imagine, the Mandelson scandal is still dominating the front pages of the Sunday papers. And joining me now to discuss all things political is the deputy and US editor of The Spectator, Freddie Gray. Freddie, lovely to see you.
Good morning, Camilla. Lovely to be with you.
What a week it's been. So we've got a revelation on the front of the Sunday Telegraph.
Yes.
The PM hired Mandelson without proper checks,
Yes.
suggesting he wasn't adequately vetted.
Yes.
And then we've got a whole sort of Mandelson fest on the front of the Sunday Times.
Well,
PM under pressure. Andy Burnham wants to come in. It's all looking dicey.
It's all looking very, very dicey. There's a curious difference between the Telegraph story and the Times story. Telegraph story suggesting flimsy, they didn't do the checks properly. The Times suggesting they did do the checks and Starmer didn't really listen.
Yes.
So slight difference of briefing there going
What's
on.
the deal with this 2-page note that was handed to the Prime Minister at some point to be determined in my interview with Peter Kyle?
I'm looking forward to watching it because it's quite unclear.
Looking forward to doing it.
What actually happened. I mean, the briefing is so bad against Starmer at the moment, it's almost as if the master of the dark arts himself, Lord Mandelson, is briefing about how badly Keir Starmer handled the appointment of Lord Mandelson.
And indeed the firing of Lord Mandelson, who claims, I think, via proxies that he wasn't actually directly addressed by the Prime Minister, that somebody else did the dirty work.
Yes, he is furious and he is not a good enemy to have.
Can I just point out the killer line in this Sunday Times piece? Obviously, I'm championing my own newspaper's coverage here of the vetting not being adequate.
Yes.
But it's this. The Labour peer, that's Lord Mandelson, let's not forget he may have been sacked from his role as the UK's ambassador to the US, but he remains a Labour peer, is said to believe that Epstein was wrongly characterised as a paedophile rather than a swinger who brought young models to parties to meet rich men. Oh, so that's OK then?
This is something you're hearing a lot from people caught up in... But even in America, you hear it from people in Trump world saying, actually, the whole thing is slightly misunderstood. And that it was a different time, which is what sort of sex criminals often say.
Yes.
It was a different time, that it was a sort of wild, rich world, but nothing that bad happened. But it does seem as though very bad things happened.
Well, he was actually convicted of soliciting prostitution with a minor.
Yes.
And it was done on the basis of quite a giant plea bargain by Alan Dershowitz, his lawyer, fair enough. And then in 2011, he was then accused of sex trafficking and other crimes. So
yes.
There's quite a lot more to this than swinging, Freddie.
Well, yes, and everybody knew that there was something bad, but they didn't really go there.
No. But also we need to try and get to the bottom of what the words yum yum mean, which again is something I'll be asking Peter Kyle. Let's move on to the Mail on Sunday.
Yes.
I just clarify that yum yum being a statement that Peter Mandelson put in that 2003 birthday book, which seems to me to be an odd thing to say. Anyway, the Mail on Sunday are saying the new Epstein emails could destroy Andrew. I thought the Duke of York was already destroyed over this.
He does seem pretty destroyed. His career as a public person has been destroyed, and his reputation has been destroyed. I think where the Mail on Sunday are going with this is there could be a criminal element coming from the files.
I don't know how that can happen, though, because Virginia Giuffre was his accuser. He denied her claims. She's now passed away. She's
now dead, yes. So I think it could be criminal, or it could be that the House, Democratic House Congress, the Oversight Committee in Congress, which is the group that has actually pushed for these files to be released, is going to call up Mandelson, the Prince of Darkness, and Prince Andrew.
Right. I mean, just to reiterate, and it should be applied to Mandelson as well, there are no criminal allegations against either of these men. You know, lots of names have been dragged through the mud, haven't they? Donald Trump, Bill Clinton and all the rest of it. There was never anything criminally proven against the Duke of York, and yet he was found guilty in the court of public opinion because of a lack of judgment, which is exactly the same problem that Keir Starmer now faces. You know, this idea, well, everything I do is in the public interest because I'm a man of decency and integrity. But actually what I did was I employed Peter Mandelson because I thought it would keep the Blairites happy.
Yes, I think it's a sort of sense that politics is something that is all comms-based.
Yes.
And Prince Andrew made the same mistake. You know, he thought the interview with Emily Maitlis would save him in some way, and it didn't. It sank him.
All it did is promote deodorant and Pizza Express in Woking.
Exactly.
The Unite the Kingdom rally from page 9 of The Sun. talking about a bit of civil unrest there, but on the whole, a peaceful protest. We think 150,000 people now march through the streets of London. Tommy Robinson there. I mean, what's the Spectator's view of Tommy Robinson and coverage of Tommy Robinson?
I think Tommy Robinson has had a pretty checkered past. I think he's an odd figure in many ways. Of course, it's not his name.
Stephen Yaxley Lennon.
Stephen Yaxley Lennon is his name. I think Spectator doesn't sort of disagree with him very strongly. I think he makes some pretty good points, and a lot of, as he said yesterday at this rally, mainstream politics is coming to me now.
Yes.
A lot of these things I've been saying about grooming gangs and so on, Tommy's been proven right over the years.
Although it's also because the centre ground has shifted and it isn't where the centrists think it is.
Yes, well, the Overton window, as everyone likes to call it, is always shifting rightwards.
That Overton window. Whoever does the double glazing and cleaning of that Overton window is doing a good job at the moment.
Well, exactly. But, I mean, speaking of Overton windows, that Elon Musk is a great example.
Yeah, what do we think of... Does Musk really know what he's talking about in relation to Britain? I mean, he's picking up a lot of what he thinks about Britain from Tommy Robinson supporters on X.
I think, as the owner of X, he's also spending far too much time on X.
Yes.
And so, therefore, his impression of Britain is formed through...
He needs to look through the Overton window. he needs to get out more.
Take a glance out the Overton window, Elon. But what's so odd is that, not so long ago, he was sitting down with Rishi Sunak on the stage at an AI conference.
Yes.
And now he's doing beaming in a broadcast to a bunch of Tommy Robinson.
And there is concern, isn't there, after the death of Charlie Kirk, which we'll move on to next, because his widow, Erica, has spoken. Really moving, Freddie. I mean, the imagery of her with her husband's dead body in a coffin, weeping over his dead body. The other thing that's characterised this political assassination, I think, is the content that we've been exposed to, both basically seeing his murder in real time, which was quite horrifying, frankly, on Friday night. I've got my 15-year-old son next to me looking at this video almost instantaneously. I'm thinking, I don't know if I want him to see that. We then have open caskets and video footage. I mean, this is the way that Charlie Kirk communicated. He was almost like, this is not just a political assassination, but a sort of social media assassination in a way.
Yes.
What's your view on where she's basically pledged, right, I will continue?
She said, I will make Turning Point, which is already a huge organisation, the organisation Charlie Kirk founded, I will make it the biggest thing this world has ever seen. And she's also a very, very devout Christian. And I think this is a big part of Charlie Kirk's story that perhaps is slightly underplayed at the moment, is how very Christian these people are. And his wife is even more devout than him, I think. And they're seeing this as a sort of moment for spiritual revival in America, and they regard themselves as fighting evil. It's good versus evil. And I think, this sounds a bit sort of grandiose perhaps, but I think American politics is kind of retreating slightly away from reason into a kind of almost pre-Enlightenment spiritual warfare.
Evangelising.
We're good, you're evil.
Which is
on both
ironic
sides.
because the criticism is that the left have toxified the debate to such an extent that they think that they're always the goodies, even when they're the baddies.
Exactly.
In the case of, for instance, the president of the Oxford Union sort of revelling in Kirk's death, I'll be asking Laura Trott, the Shadow Education Secretary, about that and whether he should stay in his position. It's been a subject of debate on X.
Yes.
Liz Truss and I were having a little debate about it because I think if you believe in freedom of speech, you can't say, right, cancel him, expel him.
Totally agree.
But you could get him to consider his position.
Totally agree. And I think celebration of violence is not the same as incitement to violence.
Indeed.
Even though it's gross and disgusting.
Final story, because it made us both chuckle.
Yes.
Apparently, according to the Royal Yachting Association, we should no longer shout man overboard.
Yes.
What should we shout?
Person overboard.
Person in sea.
Person in sea.
Because when you're reaching for a rubber ring, the first thing you think of is your language.
But the thing is, this is how tyrannical this sort of thinking is, because I know now if I am ever on a yacht and there is a person in sea. A person in sea, I will think, oh no, I'm not supposed to say man overboard. Also, just be careful, like man or woman, what if they're non-binary? Non-binary overboard. Yes. Because you could be cancelled if you get their characteristics wrong. Well, exactly. And then... as you're racing to save them. You may regret saving them because they'll sue you. Can I say that I was at football, women's football, so I've got 2 daughters and a son. They all play football, and I went to 2 women's games, and we were all shouting, man on, man on, because it's quicker to say than woman on, and woman on sounds odd. Yes. I mean, that's quite right. What I also want to know is, who are the women who are complaining to the Royal Yachting Association about this? I think it's classic. Well, the way that institutions develop political correctness, it's that nobody needs to. There's just probably somebody whose job it is to think about things like this.
Well, I bet about 3 people complained. The rest of the female population of the UK couldn't give a toss what anyone shouts to a man overboard.
I doubt anyone's even complained.
Freddie. World's gone mad, hasn't it?
It really has.
But we like to cover it. It's good for journalism, the world going mad. That's the only thing.
Exactly. Bad for everyone, good for us.
Don't forget Peter Carl's coming up, everybody. That should be fun. I'm also going to be speaking to the historian and royal biographer Sir Anthony Selden. And I'm going to be speaking to Laura Trott. So don't go anywhere. This is the Camilla Tominey Show, only on GB News. Thank you, Freddie Gray.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading off to the Mediterranean, then there's plenty of dry, sunny and very warm weather on offer over the next few days. There may well be a few showers just moving into the far north of Portugal and the far north of Spain on Monday, but most of Iberia, dry, sunny and very warm, if not hot. The same across Italy, most of Greece, the Balkans and Turkey. Just 1 or 2 afternoon thunderstorms here and there. And the outlook is for it to stay pretty settled, dry and sunny for the vast majority and very warm indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Camilla Tominey Show. Joining me now is the esteemed historian and biographer, Sir Anthony Selden. Sir Anthony, lovely to see you on this Sunday morning. It's an interesting time. Lovely to see you. It's an interesting time, isn't it? Keir Starmer, I think we can both agree, on the ropes. You'll have seen the coverage in the Sunday papers. actually quite legitimate sort of briefing and sourced quotes about his days being numbered. It looks terminal. People are talking about him in the vein of John Major, a sitting duck prime minister. What do you think?
So I think it was so avoidable, Camilla. If only he had the good manners, really, the good judgment to realise that being prime minister is not the same as campaigning. You have the heaviest responsibility imaginable to the nation to try and give it growth, to get the economy flowing, to generate the money, to get Britain out of the financial mess it's in. And he didn't listen, or he did listen, but listened to the wrong people who knew nothing, absolutely nothing about how to be prime minister. And, you know, as I and many others were writing, it would spell doom if he continued as he did, and he didn't listen, he carried on. And here we are now. So, Camilla, first point really is it was completely avoidable. And now he's in an absolute hole. I think it's very hard. We must remember this. I mean, we've talked before about Boris Johnson carrying on, Rishi Sunak, John Major mentioned. It is very hard to get rid of a prime minister. Nothing like the American president, where you are locked into a fixed term, but it's still difficult because there are all kinds of institutional lock-ins that make a pivot difficult, particularly for the Labour Party, and particularly if you don't have an oven-ready alternative around which people can unite, who is clearly going to do better against a challenge. And in this case, it's obviously Reform and Nigel Farage. But that's a terrible position to be in if the reason that you're there is there's no one better. I mean, that's awful for any leader in any job.
But maybe that's changed now in recent days. You know, the emergence of Andy Burnham, the Manchester mayor, who is quite personable, he's good at media, he's quite popular, he seems to have done a good job in that northern city. You know, now Angela Rayner is out of the picture because of what happened over the tax avoidance admission. You know, somebody like Burnham could galvanise, particularly those Labour MPs on small majorities, who must be going around their constituencies getting such hell because of the Prime Minister's bad performance.
Absolutely. And they are incredibly worried because being an MP or being a minister for the lucky few is the high point of their life. And they don't want it to end in 3 or 4 years' time, or even maybe less. So, so Andy Burnham, very presentable, charismatic, charming. There are question marks, obviously. He wasn't an unqualified success as a minister, and he has critics, and not just on the right, for what he's been doing in Manchester. So, you know, it's not a shoo-in, Camilla.
No.
And you know, once he starts becoming more plausible, more of these reservations about him will come up. So this is the point. This is it. It's not a case of will he survive or not. It's a case of will he survive with the initiative, with power, or will he just be in office but not in power? That's the key question. That is what we're talking about. He can carry on in office, but without the initiative and with people pretty much giving up on him and lots of critical comments from his own MPs and from everybody else, or can he regain the initiative? Now, if that's the essay question, I think it's going to be really hard for him now ever to regain the initiative. He's had chance after chance. There is still a possibility. It's such a, Camilla, as again we've talked about often before, we've never had a time in politics like this with so many prime ministers and chancellors going, and with such a plausible challenger from the right as Nigel Farage and Reform polling so strongly. So it's hard to say it won't happen, but I think it's unlikely that he will regain the initiative with the party conference coming up, all the debate over who's the deputy leader, not that that matters, of Labour, and then the budget. What can he do in the budget, given he's done what he's done so far, to restore confidence and to show he's serious about growth? Very tricky. Not impossible yet, but pretty hard.
What are your thoughts about the Peter Mandelson saga? Funny enough, I remember seeing you do a lecture at the West Hampstead Synagogue some time ago. I brought my eldest child. And Peter Mandelson, you'll remember, was in the audience. And then he had a fight with somebody else in the audience about whether Keir Starmer had done enough to expel those aligned with Jeremy Corbyn from the party over anti-Semitism. And that was back, I looked it up, Anthony, it was February 2024. And I sort of thought, why is Peter Mandelson there showing support for Starmer? Lo and behold, his loyalty is rewarded with that ambassadorship. Now it's ended in tears. You're a close follower of politics. I'm a close follower of politics. We could have told Keir Starmer that it wasn't a sensible appointment in the first place, because Mandelson's always had history, and most people in Fleet Street were familiar with the nature of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, you were there. I remember you chatting to Peter Mandelson afterwards. And the lecture was about what does it take to be a successful prime minister? I mean, that didn't interest him. I mean, maybe it wasn't an interesting lecture, but it was a little bit odd that he took it off entirely in his own direction and on his own agenda to make his own point for his own reasons. And I think that's a problem with Peter Mandelson, incredibly gifted, but also extraordinarily egocentric. And it's always about Peter Mandelson himself, you know, and there isn't the big vision. What Starmer needed was a vision for Britain after 14 years of Conservative government about how that was going to be driven by an absolutely thumpingly strong economy now out of Europe. What would that look like? We hadn't heard that convincingly from the Tories. He could have done that. It's about vision. It's not about ego. And there's far too much ego in politics and far too few serious people who are putting their national interest, including the working people who suffered the most from the misjudgments of politicians over the years. And hence the rise of Farage.
Indeed. And very quickly on that, Sir Anthony, because we're running out of time, can you envisage having to write your next biography of Nigel Farage? Will he be Prime Minister? Very briefly.
He might be, Camilla. The polls would suggest he definitely will be. And anybody who underestimates Nigel Farage ought to go off for a drink and with him and find out the magic that he has, that Donald Trump has, which in this new political world is almost essential to obtain power.
OK. Thank you very much indeed, Sir Anthony Selden. Lovely to speak to you this morning. Coming up next, I'm going to be speaking to the Shadow Education Secretary, Laura Trott. This is the Camilla Tominey Show, only on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be north-eastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon, and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here, but a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That window will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular, gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers though across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, Dame Helen Mirren has said that despite being a feminist, she believes the next James Bond has to be a chap.
OK, she said that she believes it just doesn't work, and by having a woman as Bond, the project becomes something else entirely.
So we are asking the question, could Bond ever be a woman?
Well, we're joined by a former what is termed Bond girl, Jenny Hadley, and and there is, we weren't expecting you, but it's really 007 podcast contributor John Kell there as well. Jenny, you've been there, done it, got the T-shirt, been involved in it. What's your take?
I think James Bond has to be a male, because he came from the imagination of Ian Fleming. If you want a female 007, don't ride on his coattails and take the fame that has come from his character, James Bond. Write your own.
Yeah, you see, that's what I tend to think. But you're
no, I just think that you just go 007. The problem is, right, the last Bond film, he died. James Bond died. I mean, there was a... Oh, sorry.
Great, I haven't seen that one.
Sorry, yeah. I think everybody pretty much now knows that he definitely... I mean, there was an absolutely... It wasn't even did he or didn't he, can he or can he not survive. It was 100% gone. So it's now time for a clean... The nice thing about a clean sheet, surely, John, is that you can actually go, right, so 007, let's do the 007, and then we can do different stories, because the books that have been written by Ian Fleming have been well and truly milked, haven't they?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to the Camilla Tominey Show on GB News. Lots more still to come. We're going to be hearing from the Shadow Education Secretary Laura Trott, then broadcaster Hadley Gamble, who's going to react to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Later, Damian Green will discuss his report on fixing adult social care. And Peter Kyle, the Business Secretary, will join me to talk about whether Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham could replace the scandal-hit Prime Minister. Woo! Stay tuned. But first, your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Camilla. A very good morning to you. Our headlines. The Home Secretary says those who took part in criminal activity during yesterday's rally in central London will feel the full force of the law. 26 police officers were injured and 25 people arrested at a so-called freedom of speech march organised by Tommy Robinson, which descended into violence. The Metropolitan Police says some protesters threw bottles and projectiles at its officers, with a number of them assaulted. Well, more than 100,000 protesters gathered for the largely peaceful rally in Whitehall, which heard from guest speakers including Elon Musk, who urged Britons to fight back or die against the destruction of the country. He also called for a general election. It is thought to be the largest right-wing demonstration in British history. Around 5,000 people also attended a counter-protest in central London, organised by Stand Up to Racism. The Prime Minister is facing renewed scrutiny following fresh revelations about his dealings with Lord Mandelson. It's emerged Sir Keir Starmer was given a report detailing the peer's relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein before Mandelson was named ambassador to the US, and that the PM confirmed the Labour grandee's appointment before formal security checks had begun. Well, Peter Mandelson was sacked on Thursday after damning emails between the pair were published. Downing Street says he was economical with the truth about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein before his appointment. The Prime Minister, who hasn't spoken publicly since Wednesday, is said to be facing a growing revolt amongst his ministers and MPs. The first deportation flights carrying migrants from the UK to France are expected to take off next week. GB News understands a number of asylum seekers detained last week could be deported on Monday as part of the one-in, one-out returns deal, which came into force last month. The scheme allows those who cross the channel illegally to be sent back in exchange for asylum seekers who apply and are given approval to come to Britain. And a memorial service for the Conservative activist Charlie Kirk will take place next Sunday in his home state of Arizona. The organisation he co-founded, Turning Point USA, has encouraged the public to celebrate his remarkable life and enduring legacy at State Farm Stadium in Arizona. It holds 60,000 people. The co-founder was shot dead in Utah on Wednesday. The man suspected of killing Kirk, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, is understood to be on special watch to determine if he is a risk to himself or others. He's expected to be charged on Tuesday. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 11 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thanks, Aaron. Joining me now is Shadow Education Secretary Laura Trott. Lovely to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed for your time. So Kemi Badenoch has said on X, it looks like the Prime Minister and Labour MPs spent the week lying to the whole country about what they knew regarding Mandelson's involvement with a convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. If Number 10 had those emails for 48 hours before acting, it means he lied at PMQs and ministers lied again about new additional information. So do you support that, Laura Trott? You're accusing, just to be very, very clear, the Prime Minister of lying to the Commons.
Well, of course she's right. I mean, look at the facts, Camilla. We know that the Number 10 and the Foreign Office had emails from Bloomberg on Tuesday. Peter Mandelson himself said on Tuesday that there were further questions to answer and further things that were going to come out. Are you seriously telling me that at that point the Prime Minister and Number 10 didn't ask what the further information that was going to come out was, didn't see any of the information that had been put to the Foreign Office? I'm not buying it, Camilla, and Kemi isn't either. And I think just more broadly, there are just such grave questions to answer about the Prime Minister's judgment right this week. It's unbelievable that the man who stood on the steps of Number 10 and said he was going to restore political integrity. Look where we are now. We've had 2 senior resignations in the space of 2 weeks. We have had the outrageous situation where the Prime Minister and the Labour Party were defending this week appointing the best pal of a convicted paedophile as US ambassador. The Prime Minister's authority is just totally shot.
OK, so should he resign, Keir Starmer?
Well, I think we've got big questions that we need answered about him and his chief of staff. You know, what did they know and when? I think we need to see, what we're going to do first, Camilla, is use every parliamentary avenue available to us to try and get the information into the public domain for what actually happened and when, what happened in the vetting process, what information was given to the Prime Minister, what information was given to his chief of staff.
Well, hang on a minute.
Who overruled any concerns that were raised.
Laura Trott, you can't have a situation where the Leader of the Opposition is accusing the Prime Minister of lying to the House of Commons, misleading Parliament, which is a resignation offence, and then not call for him to resign. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, Peter Mandelson told Harry Cole on Tuesday morning that there was more information to come, Downing Street has sat on it, the Prime Minister's not been honest with MPs, and then when I ask you, should he resign, start obfuscating yourself.
I don't think it's obfuscating so much as being very clear about what the process should be from this point, Camilla. And I've said very clearly that Kemi is not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't think the British public are buying it. The next step in this is to be transparent about all the information, and then we can go from there.
But hang on a minute, let's put it a different way. If the Prime Minister has lied to the Commons, do you agree that's a resignation event?
Yes.
Therefore, I'm asking you, Laura Trott, and you've been tweeting about this today. You've tweeted the following. At least Lucy Powell has the courage to call for a change of culture in Number 10 after the PM was in an absurd position this week defending the best pal of a paedophile. Will Number 10's candidate Bridget Phillipson do the same? What you're saying is that you think Bridget Phillipson should follow Lucy Powell in calling for a change of culture in Number 10. We all know what that means. That means calling for a change of leadership. So when I ask you, should Keir Starmer resign, why isn't the answer yes? Put your money where your mouth is.
I absolutely am. I'm saying, on the basis of the information that we have right now, the Prime Minister has lied, right? But we believe in due process. We need to see exactly what has happened and what information has been given and when, because they're denying that, right? So therefore, we need to have this out in the public domain. We will use all the avenues available to us to do so. And
no, you're missing my point. Hang on, no.
The Prime Minister lied in this process.
I'm sorry. No, you're missing my point here. Kemi Badenoch has put on X, the Prime Minister lied to the Commons. You and I are agreeing that lying to the Commons is a resignation event. Ergo, I'm asking you, Laura Trott, should he resign?
But don't you agree that it looks like he's lied? I think everybody agrees it looks like he's lied.
It looks like he either didn't. If he did know on Tuesday what Stephen Doughty said we knew on Thursday, and he's gone in on Wednesday and said, according to the information that I have available, I follow procedure, then it's wrong because his own aides had information on Tuesday, right? But what I'm asking you is this. How can you possibly attack him for lying to the Commons, which you've made clear as a resignation event? What on earth is the point of Kemi Badenoch tweeting this? She's tweeted this because she's saying, if you've lied to the Commons, you have to resign. So I'm confused. Why isn't her Shadow Education Secretary telling me on my show, we've made this point that he's lied and he has to go? Because you're being cowardly about it. Just do you think he should go or not? He's the Prime Minister.
I've been exceptionally clear that if he's lied, he has to go, and it looks like he's lied.
Right, so you do think he should resign?
If he's lied, and it looks like he's lied.
If he's lied. All right, so you are calling for the Prime Minister's resignation if it's established, as Kemi Badenoch has accused him of lying. If it's been proved that he's lied, he must go. So we do have a shadow cabinet minister calling for the Prime Minister to go.
Yes.
Thank you. We've got there.
If it's been proved that he has lied, then
All right, let's move on.
I think I've been clear and you've been clear, which is...
All right, Laura Trott, thank you. We got there.
This is a terrible situation, right? This is a very terrible situation.
OK, let's move on to somebody else who may or may not have to resign, and that is the president of the Oxford Union, George Abaonye. Now, he has been glorifying the death of Charlie Kirk. He's in charge of the Oxford Union. This is an austere and historic debating society that's been home to many former prime ministers as presidents. Is it appropriate for this man to be at the helm of this august institution?
I don't think so, no.
So he
I
must
don't
go.
think you get to celebrate a political assassination. I don't think you get to celebrate a political assassination and be the head of an Oxford Union.
Should he still be a student at Oxford University, which, as you and I both know, is Oxford University is one of those universities that you have to try really, really hard to get into? Does he belong there?
I mean, I haven't seen exact details. I wouldn't go that far personally. I think he's apologised. I don't think he is an appropriate person to be head of the Oxford Union. But I think at that point, we don't need to hound this person out of their, future potential. I think we need to be able to say that if they've apologised, he said it's wrong, he really understands that what he said was absolutely abhorrent, then I think hounding him out of university is probably the wrong thing to do.
OK, so step down as the head of the Oxford Union, but not leave the university altogether. Your colleague Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, seems to be implying in his own posts on social media that this man was a DEI hire. He seems to be questioning why he was there. He didn't get very high grades. I think he got ABB. Usually you have to have a minimum of 3 A's to get into Oxford University and all the rest of it. Do you support that theory?
I think it's for Oxford to set the admission criteria. You don't know what's gone on in individuals' lives, but I think it's very clear that what he said was just awful, and that is not a sentiment that should be expressed by the leader of the Oxford Union.
Do we think that Bridget Phillipson is being honest about her impoverished childhood? She's talked about being brought up in a dilapidated council house, but at the same time, she was the daughter of an MP. She went to a very, very good Catholic-aided school in the area, and then she was put on an all-female shortlist to win her seat. Is she painting rather a different picture of her childhood to reality?
What I'm sure that she's not being honest about is why she's put forward the schools bill on the House of Commons at the moment. Because what has been very obvious in the last week is that Bridget Phillipson is putting policies forward that are damaging the education of our children because she's trying to garner union support. The outcomes of children are being sacrificed at the altar of Bridget Phillipson's ambition, and it is just not good enough. What we need from this deputy leadership race is transparency. We need transparency about what she's promising to the union, when she's meeting them, and what will happen as a result afterwards. And I would like to see the schools bill, in terms of the academy section, completely rewritten, because it is clear that what is happening in this schools bill is in the interests of unions. It is not in the interests of children.
I'm glad you mentioned the unions. I was just flicking through the Sunday Times to find this story. Union boss. This is about the NEU's Daniel Kabidi. Give teachers a mark from home day. He thinks that teachers should be entitled to work 1 day a week from home. Do we want teachers working from home, Laura Trott? Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, Bridget Phillipson seems to be doing everything that the unions want, so expect to see that in a policy coming to you very soon. I mean, it's just completely extraordinary that we've had her now making speeches saying that that policy in the Department for Education is co-written by unions, the very unions that she's trying to garner support from now for her deputy leadership campaign. It's completely outrageous. It cannot be the case that a sitting cabinet minister is openly trying to get votes from unions and having union-driven policy in her own department. It is a total and utter outrage. And I know there is a lot of competition for outrage this week, but this really is one.
Fair enough. Although Laura, woman to woman, she did look quite good in that photo shoot, didn't she? Windswept hair.
I thought she looked great, yes. I agree,
Yeah, all right.
I agree, I thought she looked great.
Can we agree that if there is a wind tunnel and someone wants to photograph us in it, we'll both agree to that, Laura Trott?
100%.
All right. Well, we'll hold you to that, perhaps at a future GB News event. But thank you very much indeed for your time this morning, Shadow Education Secretary Laura Trott. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, coming up next, we're going to be speaking to the international journalist Hadley Gamble on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Also going to be looking forward to the US state visit that's taking place in Windsor and London this week. This is the Camilla Tominey Show, only on GB News. Don't forget, we've got Peter Kyle still to come. Don't go anywhere.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Joining me now is Hadley Gamble, who's Chief
International Anchor at IMI.
At IMI, rather than just generalising. You're a broadcaster and commentator. Let's get your specific title in there. Lovely to see you this morning. Difficult week, actually, for America, let's be perfectly honest, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. What impact do you think that will have?
Well, you know, I think you need to set the scene here. This was the heir to progressive conservatism in America. He was presidential material. And in many ways, he embodied everything that the left purport to hate. This is a man who said it was okay to believe in the nuclear family. He said it was okay to be a patriot. It was okay to love the flag. And unfortunately, I think when you have a situation where he's gunned down and assassinated at a university in the United States, a place where you're supposed to be able to espouse ideas, to have argument, to have political discussion. It says everything about the tone of politics in America today.
I mean, I wrote a column about it for The Telegraph on Saturday, and my point was people kept on caveating any tributes to him with, well, I didn't agree with him on everything. And my point in the piece was you didn't have to say that you agreed or disagreed. You had to agree with his right to express himself freely and encourage debate.
Yes.
He had a right to make the arguments and you had a right to disagree.
Yes.
But the sort of nature, the kind of like visceral nature of him being shot in that way in a public place, in a public forum for debate and discussion is sort of beyond depressing, really, for the state of things.
It is indeed. I mean, they hated what he was saying and they assassinated him for it. And I think going forward, you've got to wonder how this resets the political tone in the United States and even in this country.
Will he be seen as a martyr? I was interviewing Greg Swenson, who's the head of Republicans overseas, lovely chap, and he made a comparison between this and Martin Luther King Jr. And I sort of thought, hang on, is that overstating it? But we now have this event in Arizona next weekend, could attract up to 60,000 people. It's hard to see from this side of the pond Is that overstating it, or is that the significance of this?
I think given the fact that you saw 2 assassination attempts on the president in the last year, and you've got to take a step back and think about this in the broader political context, which is that anyone who expresses opinions in America today, right or left, could potentially have their life threatened. And so to be political, to be out there with views that don't necessarily correlate with, what's politically correct in America today, you absolutely are under threat.
We were just speaking earlier, Laura Trott and I, about the president of the Oxford Union, Daniel Abba-Onye, who has made these comments sort of revelling, like many others actually on the left, both in the UK and the US, sort of revelling and glorifying Charlie Kirk's death. What do you think should happen to him? There's a debate raging in the interest of freedom of speech. You can't expel this guy from Oxford University. He's there legitimately, but should he be the president of a debating union that's all about free speech and everyone's views being welcomed?
Absolutely not. And I think already something like 150 signatories, past presidents, et cetera, of the Oxford Union have come out and said, this guy doesn't represent us, and it certainly doesn't represent our values. At the same point, to say that he's not allowed to stay in his place at university is a bit extreme. I mean, if we are going to make the argument that a university is a safe space for people to express opposing views, as Charlie Kirk did over a long career of speaking to young people. I mean, he was barely 30 years old. I mean, this is a guy who made his name going to universities, sparking those debates, engaging with people. Then you can't deny that to others. But I would say it does speak very strongly to the caliber of young people that are supposedly going into what is considered by many, at least in my country, the greatest institution of higher learning in the United Kingdom.
I know.
These are your best and brightest, really?
I know, well,
That's a problem.
It's also the kind of toxification of the dialogue that has become, rather than if you don't agree with me, then you're wrong. If you don't agree with me, then you're evil, which is difficult and can be perpetrated by both sides, by the way.
Absolutely.
This has become increasingly febrile and it's tricky. Sorry to ask a slightly cynical question, but moving it on to politics, we do have the midterms next year that come around quite fast, considering it only seemed as if there was the second inauguration of Trump very recently. Does this embolden the MAGA movement now? How does this change the dial? Because it had been looking a little bit dicey in recent months. Was the president as popular? Had he delivered that kind of economic recovery that he promised, reindustrialising Rust Belt America? Do you think this improves the situation for him looking into 2026?
It certainly improves the situation, I think, for Republicans generally. Moving into the midterms. And you've got to remember that externally people are looking at this as well. I cover foreign policy. I spent 20 years in the Middle East. Certainly the events of the last few weeks, the attack on Qatar, for example, have a lot of folks in that part of the world raising their eyebrows at the Trump administration and what exactly their policy is overseas, whether it be regarding Russia or the Middle East, et cetera. And the thought process there is, how much clout will this president have after the midterms? But certainly, to your point, political assassination on a young man that was looking to be, this is a guy with presidential aspirations, presidential material. This is a guy who could have been, the heir to Donald Trump or the heir to J.D. Vance, et cetera, or Marco Rubio, easily. The fact that he's been taken out in such a brutal fashion, this atrocious incident, no doubt that's going to galvanise the base.
We're going to have the US President and the First Lady flying into London on Tuesday night. We're going to have a whole extravaganza of events in Windsor involving the King, the Queen, William and Kate on the Wednesday, and then it all moves to kind of the political sphere on the Thursday, state banquet in between. Honestly, Hadley, what do you think Trump really thinks of Starmer?
It's difficult to say without being in the president's head, obviously. But I think that even if you just look at the body language, he always seems to get a kick out of Keir. He does seem to have a rapport, et cetera. And probably he considers that this is a prime minister who's trying to do his best for the country, as we all hope that he is. But then it's coming off the back of this rally that we saw in London. The numbers, they are disputed. They're telling us in mainstream media that it's 110,000. If you look at I've never seen the streets of London covered with people as they were yesterday. I think that the president recognizes the dysfunction and the disquiet that people here in the UK are witnessing and seeing, and particularly when it comes to freedom of speech. As much as he may like Keir Starmer, he's never backed away in any meeting, public or private, from saying exactly what he thinks is wrong with this country.
Well, he's dominated most of the public meetings. I don't think Keir Starmer's got a word in.
He hasn't. And I think what's going to be really interesting is, he's coming with a group of folks that want to do some business, right? NVIDIA, OpenAI and also BlackRock, right? So what does that say to you? That's AI, that's chips, and that's, data infrastructure, because all of these things need to be powered. And the president and his U.S. Interior Secretary, who I spoke to last week, have said repeatedly that the UK, with electricity prices where they are today, cannot possibly support the data centers and infrastructure to be a leader in AI. It's just absolutely impossible. So what is he doing?
Net zero can't support any of it either.
You got it. And he's been very clear about that. I mean, the president doesn't like windmills. He doesn't like solar. He hates windmills. And this comes directly from a U.S. administration official to me.
Do we think Ed Miliband is going to be in these meetings? Probably not. No.
Well, what's going to be really interesting is this is a president, regardless of his feelings for Keir, the cavalry is coming. The United States clearly wants to invest in the United Kingdom's future and help the United Kingdom. And it's going to be this government, their choice as to whether or not they allow that to happen.
They embrace it or not. And then finally, there's some reports in the papers today that Kate, the Princess of Wales, is going to be pushed front and centre of this state visit. Clearly, there's a rapport between Trump and William. We saw that then when they met at the opening or the reopening of Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, as you would call it, Hadley. I get the impression that the King and Trump aren't natural bedfellows.
Possibly not.
Do we think the Walesers are there to kind of ameliorate...
To grease the wheels.
To grease the wheels, that's exactly
to
the
grease
expression.
the wheels, probably. I mean, but, in the United States, I mean, Kate is considered such a class act.
Yes.
I mean, she's phenomenal, whether it be from the clothes to the manners to the fact that, she just doesn't put a foot wrong. She gets the job done. I think there's a great deal of respect for her across age brackets in the United States, from young people, obviously, as well as older people, because that is a very difficult life. And to have made the choice to take that on says a lot about somebody.
I love the idea of Kate being the Trump whisperer for this.
Well, I think that the president no doubt would enjoy that very much. So let's see.
Between Kate, Victoria Starmer and others, you never know. Hadley, thank you very, very much indeed for joining me this morning. Great to speak to you. Thank you. Right, coming up next, don't forget, we've got Peter Kyle. He is coming up at the end of the show. We will have him, don't you worry, and we have questions to ask him. Very clearly, very clear questions to ask. But before that, we're going to be speaking to Damian Green, who used to sort of be the Deputy Prime Minister under Theresa May. He's been behind a very important report about that not very often talked about subject, adult social care. So all that's still to come. Don't go anywhere. We've got a very fun half hour to come. This is the Camilla Tominey Show, only on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's a fine start to the day for many of us out there today. A bit chilly in places, but some heavy rain and strong winds are on the cards for later today. And we can already see that rain out towards the west, moving into Northern Ireland, Wales and southwestern parts of England later this morning. So some sunshine holding on for the east for the next few hours or so, but turning increasingly hazy. And by this afternoon, it'll only really be northeastern parts of Scotland that sees any brightness. And pretty heavy rain arriving as we go through the afternoon, and those winds strengthening, particularly through the Irish Sea, so coastal gales likely here, and temperatures around average for the time of year, ranging from 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. A pretty wet and windy evening for many of us, particularly across England and Wales, with those winds strengthening further too. These yellows and oranges on the map indicating where the heavier outbreaks of rain are expected to be. Some brighter skies following to parts of Wales by the end of the afternoon and across Northern Ireland too. Sunny spells and heavy showers here. But a pretty wet end to the day across many parts of Scotland, although the far north of Scotland still holding on to a little bit of hazy sunshine for some of us. As we move into Sunday evening and overnight, then we see this yellow wind warning coming into effect across many parts of England and Wales. So the potential for some severe coastal gales on Irish Sea coast, gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, particularly for northwestern parts of England. That window will push through the rain, so showers following to western parts of the UK and the most persistent rain becoming confined to northern Scotland. So for Monday, a windy day across England and Wales in particular, gales around the coast, perhaps even severe in a few spots too. But the showers moving through pretty quickly on those very strong west or southwesterly winds with sunny spells in between. Some frequent showers there across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. The risk of hail and thunder in places as well. And once again, temperatures close to average for the time of year, but it will feel cool when you factor in those strong winds.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Camilla Tominey Show. Peter Carl, the Business Secretary, still to come. But first, joining me now in the studio is Damian Green, former Deputy Prime Minister, and now here to discuss his report on adult social care, which I've got to be honest, Damian, lovely to see you this morning and thanks for coming in. We're not talking about this anymore.
No, and that's part of the problem. It's a grumbling issue that under the surface is quietly getting worse,
yes,
but has been a problem for 20 years, which the British state under successive governments has never got to grips with. And one of the things the Social Care Foundation exists to do is to keep reminding people regularly, this issue hasn't been solved yet, and it affects millions of families,
yes,
and we need to solve it.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Families don't need to be reminded, they're living it. So many people are living with having to look after elderly relatives, disabled relatives, and really struggling to meet the costs. So tell me, you've got 35 key recommendations in this report. Tell me the kind of headline recommendations, what needs to be done?
OK, I mean, there are, I won't go through all 35, but they divide into the big issues of funding, of how to create a better qualified and better trained workforce, and how, vitally importantly, to integrate it with the NHS better than it is now. So on funding, which has always been the rock on which previous attempts to solve it has dashed, we make recommendations about how you should raise it. I mean, essentially, for left-wing or right-wing politicians, if you just want to raise it from taxation, we think something like a levy on national insurance is the best way. If you want to have more individual payments, we recommend an insurance system sort of similar to a pension system where you pay into through your life, or you buy a single insurance premium at the end of your working life so that you can insure yourself against any care costs apart from utterly catastrophic ones. So that's one area, raising the money. But also we think distributing the money is really important. At the moment, it's done through local authorities. We think it would be simpler to have a national care system where there would be a test. I mean, they do it in Australia. There are 6 levels. You get assessed as to what care you need.
Yes.
You get put on one of those levels. You get given a sum of money, and you then choose whether you need domiciliary care, care at home, or to go into a care home. You decide how to spend that money. So it gives everyone the freedom that at the moment you only have if you've got the money to pay for your own care.
So currently the situation is that central government gives the money to local authorities and then the local authorities distribute that. And is there a set amount that they give per person? And is there a postcode lottery currently with how that care is or care package, I should say, is distributed?
There's a complete postcode lottery in applications in different local authorities. People apply, and in some local authorities 15% get turned down, and in other local authorities 85% get turned down. So depending on where you live, there is absolutely that terrible old cliche, there is a postcode lottery on this.
But the trouble is it doesn't solve the problem or the iniquity that is being diagnosed with cancer and having all of your treatment covered by the NHS, and being diagnosed with dementia and having to pay for the cover of your own care. I mean, that's the problem here that can't really be solved. Dilnot was going to solve it in a way, wasn't it, by capping care costs. Have you moved away from that? Where are you on the Dilnot proposals?
I mean, clearly, people can't afford unlimited payments. The insurance system would mean that, and just as, I don't know, we all pay house insurance in the hope that you never have to cash it in, as it were. It's just a waste of money, but you know, you can go through your life never being burgled, never having a big accident in your house. Similarly, you know, some people don't need care, some people do need care, some people need care, it's more expensive, they go into residential care and so on. If you have an insurance system, then you would know that you were insured against that. So that would solve the losing all your savings.
Although the left are going to rail against that, aren't they? They're going to see it as the privatisation of adult social care.
Well, the thing about adult social care is that it's not like the NHS, it's not free at the point of use.
No.
You get assessed.
Yes.
So, and one of the reasons why in the report we're careful to talk about a national care system, because I do think it needs to be, if you like, much better integrated with the NHS, not a national care service, precisely to avoid the point that people think, OK, fine, social care is now free, because we can't afford it. And indeed, the Louise Casey Commission, because the government has slightly kicked the can down the road by setting up another commission to investigate it. Yeah, who knew? That's not due to report in full till 2028. That the terms of reference for that commission explicitly say it's got to be within the terms of the spending settlement. So free social care for all is not on the agenda at all.
But then people might say, goodness me, NI contributions are already at record highs along with taxes. You know, we can't really afford this out of income. A separate insurance policy system, I suppose, could be popular in the country. What baffles me is, and maybe it's because you were sort of bitten with the whole criticism of the dementia tax when you were working alongside former Prime Minister Theresa May. The Lib Dems have been talking about this, and Ed Davey's quite credible on it because he looked after his mother who had disabilities and he looks after his son John who has disabilities. Tories aren't talking about it at all.
No, I mean, to be fair to my party, there's a lot else to talk about at the moment, as you're doing on the show this morning. But so therefore, that's why I think external voices like mine are needed to keep it in the mix, because some of the things we recommend don't require extra money, as well as the big funding issue, which we've been talking about. There are other things that can be done that don't cost money, such as if you integrated it better with the NHS, then you would reduce the bureaucracy. If you had a system where you had we recommend a national care portal, if you like, where wherever you are in the country, you think, oh, I need, or my mother or grandmother, whatever, needs care, what do I do? There will be a portal that you go onto that points you in the right direction. And in local terms, we advocate the creation of care hubs, which is just somewhere in the locality you go to. And they can then advise you saying, OK, it looks like you need this, so there's a charity that maybe provides that, or a private company, or the state.
But hasn't one of the most fundamental problems for the care sector been in recent weeks and months since Labour took power this increase to employers' national insurance contributions? Wes Streeting exempted the NHS from that, didn't exempt private care providers. And by the way, this applies to hospices, children and adult, as much as it does to residential and care homes and nursing homes. That was absolutely catastrophic. I mean, you've already got care homes facing sky-high utilities bills. Now they're having to find hundreds of thousands of quid down the back of the sofa.
Yeah, which many of them haven't got. And it's the case, there's about 130,000 shortfall in the workforce. Everyone is talking about bringing down immigration numbers. We know that workforce has been hugely dependent on immigrant workers for years now. So among our other set of recommendations is precisely to make it a more attractive career for people. We think, for example, there should be parity. If you're doing the same job inside the NHS or inside the care sector, you should be paid the same amount of money.
How do care providers pay? How do they pay those higher wages, Damian, if they are not receiving never-ending amounts of taxpayers' cash? By the way, in return for less productivity, the NHS is eating through taxpayers' cash. It's less productive than it was pre-COVID. You then have these care providers that actually do a really good job. They're regulated by the CQC. In some cases, actually, not least when we've seen these NHS league tables suggesting that a great many hospitals are in the 3s and 4s. They're not good enough. And yet they get clobbered by the Treasury at every single turn. How can they afford to pay higher wages? They can't compete with unionised NHS workers.
Only if they get extra money in. That's why, I mean, a few people in the sector say you don't need any extra money, you just need to organise it. But the vast majority say you do need extra money in. And that's one of the reasons, perhaps the underlying reason, why successive governments have in the end shied away from doing anything, is that people have to be confronted with the fact that if you want an effective and stable social care system, somewhat, people are going to have to pay more money. I would personally, but not all my advisory council in the Social Care Foundation agree with me. I would prefer to do it personally. I'd prefer to have people take personal responsibility. But you can do it through taxation at all. But I take your point absolutely, that I think we're at the limits of people's, how much taxation people can stand at the moment.
Well, and then the limits maybe of how much care providers can pay their staff at the moment with all of the other competition on their costs. What is the quantifiable sort of figure? How much funding needs to be raised to deal with it?
It's not sensibly quantifiable. We deliberately haven't put a figure in it, because once you start saying it's got to be extra 15 billion. And as I say, there are things you can do. You can make the career path more attractive and clearer for care workers, so that more young people are attracted into it, because it's a sort of idealistic profession that does attract young people, just as nursing does.
It's vocational. People want to help other people.
So people want to do it. So if you think, actually, I can go in, as it were, at the bottom and work my way up, there's a proper career structure here, that would make it more attractive.
It's not a problem going away with our increasingly ageing population, Damian Green. Thank you very much indeed for talking us through all of that. At least we're speaking about it on GB News. No other channel seems to be.
Thank you.
And coming up next, as I say, it's the interview I've promised you throughout the entire show. Let's hope he is there down the line. Peter Kyle, the business secretary, is up next answering my questions about the Peter Mandelson saga. Can the PM survive? All of that just still to come. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a jiffy.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, if you're heading off to the Mediterranean, then there's plenty of dry, sunny and very warm weather on offer over the next few days. There may well be a few showers just moving into the far north of Portugal and the far north of Spain on Monday, but most of Iberia, dry, sunny and very warm, if not hot. The same across Italy, most of Greece, the Balkans and Turkey. Just one or two afternoon thunderstorms here and there. And the outlook is for it to stay pretty settled, dry and sunny for the vast majority, and very warm indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I remember being introduced to Ken Bates.
Chelsea
used to own Chelsea, and just asked to sit down with him and then spend the next sort of 2 or 3 hours with him having lunch. And an ex of Donald Trump, Ivana Trump, his wife, and
oh, you had dinner with her?
Yeah, I remember having dinner actually with Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Did you?
Yeah. You said earlier you couldn't think of anyone.
You couldn't think of anyone. I was listing them.
I can't think of anyone. That literally just
wait,
come into my head.
Hi, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Can we go back to that, please?
Catherine Zeta-Jones was. I used to live in a flat in Fulham, and I'm up at the top of the flat, and I was a sports reporter at the BBC, and I went round to Pizza Express, and I'm sitting eating, having my dough balls and everything else I was having. And reading the back pages of the papers in preparation for the work that I was doing the next day. Yeah. And I walked out of the cafe, and the beautiful, most stunning woman, Catherine Zeta-Jones, was walking by, and she said, "Oh, hello, Eamon." And then Welsh accent.
Really?
Hello, Eamon. How are you? And we were standing talking, and we were nattering away, and she said, "Anyway, why are we standing talking in the street? Have you eaten?"
And I went, said no.
I went, no, I didn't say no. I went, no. And I went inside, and I remember Pizza Express was empty. And the waiter saw me again, and I went and sat down with Catherine, and he said, "And you, sir, are you eating?" And I went, "Yes." He said, "What are you having?" I said, "Could I have the dough balls?" And I've never been able to eat dough balls again since.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Peter Kyle, joins me now. Lovely to see you, Mr. Kyle. Congratulations on your new role. Now,
you too.
The Prime Minister
Thank
said
you so much.
on Wednesday at Prime Minister's Questions that procedure was followed in regards to the appointment of Peter Mandelson. But it wasn't, was it? Because Downing Street received the additional information on Tuesday, not on Wednesday, as Stephen Doughty then told the House on Thursday.
No, what was received on Tuesday was excerpts of emails for which they needed clarity. So the Foreign Office received excerpts of emails. They were put to Peter Mandelson. At the time of PMQs, the Prime Minister had not seen the full emails. He had not seen the response from Peter Mandelson. They came later on in the day on Wednesday, yes. But as soon as that evening, when he had the full emails and the full context, and he could make a decision having seen it. Of course, the first thought from the Prime Minister, as it was with me and many others, is that this was Jeffrey Epstein. It was a criminal, and there are victims out there, and we have to put the victims first and think of them in conversations like this, because they will be re-traumatised by a lot of what they're hearing.
But
and
hang
he
on a minute.
acted.
You knew the following. You already knew that Peter Mandelson had referred to Jeffrey Epstein as his best pal and made this strange remark, yum yum, in the 2003 birthday book. You also knew, because the Telegraph had reported it, it was referred to at PMQs, that Peter Mandelson had worked with Jeffrey Epstein post-conviction when he was business secretary on a deal, on a business deal. So you knew that. You also knew, because you will have watched, and at least I would hope that aides in Number 10 would have watched, the interview Peter Mandelson gave to Harry Cole's podcast, where Mandelson actually says in the open there are more revelations to come. Even with all of that knowledge on Tuesday, the Prime Minister stands by this man on Wednesday.
Well, what we saw on Tuesday were excerpts of emails that were out of context, and we wanted to get the full context to make the decision. We also put all of this information on that same day.
With a convicted paedophile. Peter Kyle, you're the one that's equated Nigel Farage with Jimmy Savile over his opposition to the online safety bill, but you're perfectly happy for the Prime Minister to have supported someone who described a convicted paedophile as his best pal.
I implore you not to put that on me in terms of what I am perfectly happy. I think of the victims in this crime, and when there is somebody who does something that is supporting in the way that was revealed on Wednesday when we saw the full emails, then I wanted action taken, and of course I expected it, and the Prime Minister did act. But do not use the phrase that I was happy, because I was certainly not happy with that. Now, if you want to talk about the Online Safety Act, I'm happy to talk about the Online Safety Act. But in this instance, we are talking about a 24. We are talking.
The Prime Minister had a two-page dossier. The Prime Minister had a two-page dossier listing all of Peter Mandelson's relations with Epstein at the point that he was appointed as US ambassador. OK? The Prime Minister knew that. The Prime Minister knew because everyone in Fleet Street knew. Journalists knew, it was an open secret, that Peter Mandelson had a very close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It was the close relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the Duke of York that cost him his job as a trade envoy. What on earth was the Prime Minister thinking in appointing this guy in the first place? He says it's in the national interest and that he behaves with integrity. He did it in his own interest because he wanted to keep the Blairites happy.
What you saw was a vetting process, which is a standard vetting process, which is independently run by a unit in the Cabinet Office. That reported to the Prime Minister, and it cleared Peter for appointment. The information that you're mentioning was public information. We knew that the association between Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein went beyond the conviction. That was known. These facts were available in the public. But what we saw from the emails in their full was of a materially different context than what we had known at the point of appointment. If we had known that then, we would not have appointed him to this job. The Prime Minister, within hours of seeing the full context, we did not.
That's the Peter Kyle, I'm sorry. Peter Mandelson himself tells Harry Cole there's more to come. Downing Street receives the emails in which Peter Mandelson has tried to support Epstein during his being charged and his conviction. We know Peter Mandelson stayed at Epstein's house while he was in prison. That all came to light to Number 10 on Tuesday. You're now saying that the Prime Minister didn't know until after Wednesday. That can't possibly be right. You had the files.
No, we did not have the full files until Wednesday. The cache of emails, we're talking about a 24-hour period here. We had snippets and excerpts. We tried to get to the bottom of it. We put this on, the Foreign Office put this to Peter on Tuesday. We were waiting for the response. The full response came, and we also had access to the full emails on Wednesday after PMQs. I've said it again and again and again, but it was Wednesday evening that we had access to the full cache of information, and then with hours, Peter had been recalled as the ambassador. To go back to the point, we knew, because there was publicly available information, it was available to the public, that the association had gone on longer. What was not known is the full extent of the relationship, and then also the context that was revealed in those emails. At the point of knowing that, we acted. The Prime Minister acted.
You can never escape the fact that the Prime Minister thought it was a good idea to appoint Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to the US when the following was known. Peter Mandelson had previously had to resign not once but twice over scandals. Peter Mandelson had a close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Peter Mandelson stayed with Jeffrey Epstein, stayed at his apartment while he was in prison. That there was a 2003 birthday book in which Peter Mandelson had described him as his best pal and used the strange phrase yum yum about what went on in Epstein's home. So what on earth does this say about the Prime Minister's judgment that he appointed Peter Mandelson in the first place and, despite the growing scandal around him, still defended him in the House of Commons on Wednesday, only to have to fire him the next day? His integrity and his reputation is in tatters, isn't it, Peter Kyle?
What the Prime Minister discovered on Wednesday was materially different from all of the sets of information that we'd had before. You have to understand that back in the period where Peter was appointed as ambassador, the global trading system had been upended. Relationships between America and Britain and other countries were being upended by a very unconventional approach to diplomacy. We faced a fundamentally challenging...
What was wrong with the job Karen Pierce was doing?
And
what was wrong with Karen Pierce?
We faced a fundamentally challenging period, and we needed to get in there some real expertise that we felt was needed at that moment in time. But look what we've delivered since then. The first trade deal with America, the best trade deal with America. We have delivered. We are repurposing the special relationship to make it fit for a very, very unconventional period in time. We are announcing today over £1 billion of investment with America.
Are you saying that the Prime Minister couldn't find anyone better than Peter Mandelson with all of his history, which has been well documented, to do that role? Is that how you're seriously spinning this? He did it in his own interest, not in the national interest, because he wanted to keep the Blairites happy, didn't he, Peter Kyle?
What you've seen is me saying very clearly, if we knew then what we know now,
You
wouldn't have
did
been
know
appointed.
then what...
But look at what we have delivered for Britain.
You knew then most of what we know now.
We did not know then what we know now. It is materially
Was Peter
different.
Mandelson a controversial figure when he was appointed as ambassador to the US? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So why on earth did the Prime Minister put him in place? He didn't put him in place for the national interest. He put him in place for self-interest. And that's where the whole decency and integrity shtick comes undone. Because if you do things in your own interest and pretend they're in the national interest, you're misleading the public, let alone Parliament, aren't you, Peter Kyle?
Well, just look at what we've delivered in the period since Donald Trump became president. We delivered the best deal, the first deal, the only deal that has been sealed with the United States on trade and on tariffs. We have protected 44,000 automotive jobs. We've created new opportunities to make wealth, to create wealth and do business with America. Today we're announcing an extra £1.2 billion worth of investment from American banks into Britain. 1,000 jobs in Belfast, hundreds of jobs in Manchester, hundreds of jobs in Edinburgh. This is a relationship that we are delivering for British workers right around the country. At the same time, you have Nigel Farage going over there asking America to punish Britain. This is an administration that puts the national interest first. We know that this is a difficult situation. If we'd known then what we know now, we would not have appointed Peter Mandelson, but at every stage we have strived to do what is in the best interests of Britain in difficult circumstances.
Peter Kyle, you've mounted a very robust defence. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Michael Portillo is next. What do you make of all that, Michael? Good grief.
I would say ouch if I were on the receiving end of that. Our ethical debate today is on the death penalty. We're marking the 85th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, and I'll be talking to Eve Graham, who was a new singer. She liked to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony.
Well, I was at the last night of the Proms last night and I enjoyed the singing enormously. I'll be back next week at 9:30. You take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless, and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. As F. Scott Fitzgerald declared, life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall. As the evenings draw in and as the wind begins to nip, you're most welcome to Sunday with Michael Portillo for a breezy 2 hours of arts, culture, politics and current affairs.